on mechanics of soft active material. Again, we welcome you all. So, I will present now the topic on the stimuli responsive material and application. Okay. So, we will start in 2 minutes, so the other person will also join. Let's wait for 2 minutes. Let's start, because as the day process, I believe the audience will get reduced. That's fine. Okay. So, you have seen that before this lecture, we have already, our professors have explained about the different types of stimulation, like electric stimulation, magnetic stimulation. So, for example, if you are having a soft active material, there are different ways by which we can have the external stimulation we provided to that soft material. For example, you have already seen the hydrogel. In that case, when you put it in the water, it will get swell. Okay. And if you are talking about the electric stimulation response, so we are having some dielectric elastomer material in which external stimulation is electric field. Similarly, we are having magnetic active material. So the source of like the actuation will get changed. Otherwise, you see the basic mechanism or the mechanics behind the actuation of the soft active material remain the same. Okay. So in this lecture, we are trying to see the different types of stimulation. Specifically, I will focus on electric stimulation. The reason is, so we are basically going to study how the dielectric elastomer that we have initially see, how it basically works. Now here, how it is going to implement for different application, where we see that if we are using them for a different application, how we can basically have to tackle the challenges. So instead of I am saying the limitation or drawback, I am saying the challenges. Because as an engineer, everywhere we see that different problems are there. So as an engineer, we have to tackle that problem. So I am saying that as a limitation. So we will see there are certain limitations and how we are going to overcome that limitation. Okay. So let's start with the session. So this is the outline of my today's talk. I will start with the basic of the different types of stimulation. Then I will take you to the specifically dielectric elastomer and the dielectric elastomer based minimum energy structure. So at parallel, I will show you the application that we have already developed, okay, and the application on which I have worked during my postdoc, okay, and during my PhD, and that I am carrying forward here at IIT Indore. So I will show you a lot of glimpses of the experimental developed characterization of the dielectric elastomer based minimum energy structure, and you will see that how effectively we can use them for soft robotics application. So it will be a very nice journey if you will join me, like, so it will be very interactive also, okay. So when I am doing my postdoc in Germany, so always that German people, they always follow the 3-word principle. So that I like the most. And that principle is not only for your research work, it is also applicable to your day-to-day life, I am telling you. So when I go there, usually, so my supervisor, he says me, whenever you are doing any research, always follow the 3-word principle, WWH. It's not WWE, okay? It's WWH, okay? So I am curious to know that what is that WWH that they have implemented in their research work. So first W stand for what? Whatever you are doing, either in the research work or in your life, okay, anywhere you are, first always ask the question, what is this? So I am saying that dielectric elastomer, the first question immediately come to your mind, what is this dielectric elastomer? I know it will not come because you have already 2 days going through this, okay. So first question is, what is dielectric elastomer? Or if I am taking an example of your life, if you are studying some course, as a student you should always ask a question, what is this course about? Second, if you are able to answer the first question, then ask why it is important, or what is the novelty, why we have to study this course, why we have to go for dielectric elastomer. That is the second concern, second thing that needs to be come to your mind. So hopefully if you are able to answer these 2 questions, then the third part, the most important one, H, how. So if you are able to understand that, ki what, why, then always ask how we are going to do that. That is the most important thing, na? You have to do that ultimately, okay. So that 3 principle, basically I always try to follow, and hopefully if you like, you can also follow, okay. So nowadays you are seeing that the scientific community, engineers, they are moving from hard material to the soft material. So again, the first question is, what is soft material? So we already known that the soft active material are those material which get actuated or activated when they are subjected to some external stimulation. So the source of external stimulation will be different, okay? So that we understand what is soft active material. Now the question is, why soft active material? Why the people are moving towards this soft active material? Definitely there will be some advantage, na? Without advantage, we as a human never go for anything. We are always looking for an advantage, okay? So there are some different advantages that soft active material will have. So you have seen the hard machine. Definitely in hard machine, lot of linkages, joints are being there, okay? And the manufacturing of the hard materials, like you are using developing some hard machine, so it will be very complicated also. That is the third thing. So in case of a soft active material, the first and the most important advantage is they are having a very large degree of freedom and higher flexibility. So you have already seen, we have discussed that this dielectric elastomer can undergo a very large deformation. You have seen that thing. So for example, in the specific application where a higher degree of freedom, larger flexibility is required, this soft active material can be implemented very effectively. So you are getting, I think, why that is the most important thing. Second thing is, if you are looking at the cost perspective, they are also easy to fabricate. Commercially, a lot of dielectric soft active materials are available. So their availability is also easier. Their fabrication method is also easier. And we have seen that we can basically tune them. That is the most important characteristic this soft active material. For example, you make some hard machine. So whatever the characteristic you can't modify them more frequently. But in soft active material, for example, if I know that by changing the input voltage supply, I can control the actuation mechanism. So you see that this tuning basically is also an advantageous effect in soft active material. Now always see, whatever we see in our mother's nature or in our day-to-day life, we get motivated from that. You always see, if you see something in the nature, flowers, you see birds, all these things, you always get motivated from your mother nature, okay? So that is also an important reason why the scientific community has moved towards soft active material. So as a common example, if I will show you here, there is an octopus arm. Right? So as I told you that we are basically get motivated from our mother nature and our activities that we have in our day-to-day life. So as a common example, if you see, there is an octopus. All of you have seen, I think, octopus, either in television or live. So what is the basic characteristic or the mechanism that octopus follow? They don't have a skeleton type of structure. In octopus, if you see, large number of muscles, there is a large number of muscles, that's the interior structure of that. They will coordinate together, and when some obstacles come in their path, so they will like shrink and something, and they will pass through that obstacle, and again they will expand. So how beautifully basically they are overcoming that obstacle? By using their natural inbuilt characteristics. So similar characteristic we are looking at, this soft active material have their inbuilt characteristic that when they are subjected to some external stimulation, they will get activated. And as soon as when this like external stimulation, you stop it, they will come back to its original configuration. So you see how we are getting motivated from the mother nature. And again, if you are considering, for example, our motion of our muscles, okay, or arm. So you see that definitely under like if you want to press it, you will have the different mechanism. So the same soft active material, by using them, we can biomimic the response of our different body parts. I will show you also that how we can basically replicate that. So the motivation comes from our mother nature. Okay, I hope now we are getting the first point, what is soft active material and why? Because they have a lot of advantages. Okay, so I have already discussed the advantages. They can biomimic the response of natural organisms, our body parts very effectively, but definitely it's not that much easy. We have to tackle different limitations that this soft active material will have. So now the third thing is how. That is very important thing. I will show you how we are going to implement that step by step, okay? So this is some example I have shown you to get the motivation. So it is not about in India, it's at the global level, the people are working on this soft active material. So the different actuation mechanism is different for this different type of material. So as an example, if you see, this is a flexible pneumatic actuator. So definitely the pneumatic, it is, as the name suggests, it will have the source either air or some fluid. Okay, that is one thing. So we are also having the origami type of elastomeric actuator. So that can be effectively used for biomimic the response of, if you are seeing here, they are going to biomimic the response of a gripper. How we are going to basically use them for the gripping application. Then we are seeing there is a fluid pressure based gripper also. That Professor Deepak Kumar has also discussed with you. For example, if you are make some casting, okay, and putting some silica gel over that and let it allow to cure, we can basically develop a different type of finger. And when we club them together, it will behave like a gripper. So the motivation, based on the motivation, the different actuation mechanism, different external stimulation are basically implemented in soft active material depending upon the application. So I will ask you simple thing. For example, in some application, pneumatic is very good. But in some type of application, it is not providing that much effectiveness. So you go for electrical stimulation. Ab hydrogel, in hydrogel, we are not going to apply the electric field because it is used for some different application. Dielectric elastomer is used for different application. So depending upon the application, you have to judiciously select this soft active material and control, tune them basically, depending upon the requirement of your application. You are getting my point? So for example, if you are looking for gripper application, initially we need to provide the electric voltage if it is made up of dielectric elastomer, then it will grip. When you release the voltage, it will again go back to its original configuration. So that is the basic thing, the different external stimulation and how we can select them for our application. Okay. So very nice thing, like the Duke University, basically they have developed the dragon boat type of structure. I will show you also. I have also developed the dragon type of floater prototype here, made up of dielectric elastomer. Okay. So if you see, they are also providing some lightning effect there. Okay. So it is basically connected with the wires. So they are basically using this for the development of natural organism, biomimic the response of natural organism. So they give it name like this drabot. Okay. Now we are Dhanraj. Technical person is calling. Usko bula lo. So in the North Carolina State University, they are trying. So this type you have seen, I think, this type of robot. Where you have seen this type of robot? IPL nahi dekhte ho? You all have seen the IPL. I hope you have seen this type of thing. But that is in a hybrid mode. Okay, a lot of metallic parts is being there. It is basically a hybrid type of structure. So I am not completely eradicating that you don't use the conventional material for development of soft, robots. Nowadays, we all have heard the story that blind person and a person without leg, when they work together, they will have an effective result. You are getting my point? Andha or langda ek saath chalenge, then they will provide a better result. You have seen that. You have heard about that story. Similarly, if you are trying to club them together, soft active material and the conventional material, you will have the best output. Okay. So that is the main concern. Basically, people are trying to club them together in a hybrid mode. Not only completely focusing on the soft active material, completely on the hard material, because hard material also have some advantages. Okay. And soft active material have a lot of advantages that I have discussed. So if we club them together, definitely the output will be more as compared to the individual parts. Okay. Similarly, that soft fish is being developed at MIT. It is also being an example of soft active material. They are controlling the actuation with the help of the applied voltage here. So as I've already discussed, the external stimulation response is going to be different. Okay. What is happening here? Let it be like this. Okay. So actuation mode will be going to be different. Okay. So we can have the thermal actuation mode. We are also going to have the pressure difference, electric field, magnetic field, chemical supply, humidity, like water we have already seen, okay, or some solvent will be there. Lot of different actuation like actuation output, input we can provide. So whatever we are providing, we are basically supplying them as an input. Depending upon your mode of actuation will going to change. Okay. So now I hope you understand what are the different external stimulation. Okay. So let's go and move ahead. Already a lot of people have discussed like previous this lecture about dielectric elastomer. Okay. So I will just give a quick overview, and I will show also here how we can implement them for different application. That is very, very important, because whatever we see, visualize everything. Practically if we can do that, because saying on a word or on a paper is very easy. We have to implement on the ground level. That is very much required. So before going into that, I am also having a plan. In the next lecture, we will bring all the stuff here, all the some experimental part, mechanism here, that we will show you how we can basically use this dielectric elastomer for different applications. How initially we have utilized them. So that's very, very important to have again a quick overview. So as we have already known that dielectric elastomer is an elastomeric film. Tomorrow I will bring it here and I will show you in person also all this thing. So elastomeric film sandwiched between two compliant electrodes. So this is basically an electrode at the top and at the bottom. This is an elastomeric film, that is dielectric elastomer. Okay. So what is happening when you apply the potential difference? So this compliant electrode is produced by applying carbon grease. Okay. So when you apply the potential difference, we have to understand what is basic mechanism. So what is dielectric elastomer? That is the first question we are trying to understand. Okay. When you apply the potential difference, so what will happen? A positive charge will get accumulated on top of the electrode or one of the electrode. And at the same time, the negative charge will get accumulated on the other electrode. So why it is being accumulated? Because it is working like an electrical insulator. It does not allow the charge to pass through it. So it's not like a conductor. So that's why the charge get accumulated on top of the electrode and at the bottom of the electrode. Now what is happening? We have already seen the basic physics. Top charge is at the bottom and the negative charge is at the top side or bottom side, vice versa, anything you can consider. So what is the basic mechanism? Opposite charge will attract each other. That we have seen. Basic physics. Opposite charge is going to attract each other. So at the top side positive charge is accumulated. At the bottom side negative charge is accumulated. So electrostatic force of attraction will be developed. They are trying to attract each other. And what will happen? Membrane will compress in the thickness direction because of the electrostatic force of attraction. You are getting my point? And at the same time, same charge will going to repel each other. Opposite will attract, but same charge is going to repel each other. So at the top, positive charge is accumulated. It will at the same time to repel each other. So what is happening? There is a compression in the thickness direction, but at the same time there will be an expansion in the aerial direction. And this process is concomitant, means parallel it is being taking. So membrane is compressing in the thickness direction, at the same time it is expanding in the aerial direction. So that is the basic mechanism. I hope you understand. This is with the simulation you can understand. There is a cube of the dielectric elastomer. When the potential difference is applied, it will compresses in the thickness direction and expanding in the aerial direction. And we have already seen that this dielectric elastomer or the elastomer material are incompressible in nature. So that volume that is initially is being here remain constant. I hope you understand the basic mechanism. What is dielectric elastomer? Simple principle it is following. When the potential difference is applied, because of the accumulation of the charge, membrane will compress in the thickness direction and expand in the aerial direction. Okay. Now this deformation that I am talking about, that compression in the thickness direction, it is going to report it well reach beyond 400%, means 4 times it can easily be deformed to a required dimension from the initial dimension. So you see very large deformation is possible with the help of dielectric elastomer. So first question I hope we all get, what is dielectric elastomer? Now second question, why? Why it is that much important? So I am telling you, the first thing is among all the available soft active material, this dielectric elastomer can undergo very large deformation. So it can biomimic the response of our artificial muscles. We can use them for development of artificial muscles. I have given certain example here. You have seen the configuration of our heart. Basically the pumping action will be there. So, okay. So, that pumping basically, you can biomimic by using this dielectric elastomer, okay. Instead of that pumping perk, you can provide some electrical stimulation to provide that response. Our eye motion, if you see, basically if you are rotating your eyes like this, and we can also develop some artificial type of eyes. Definitely now the concern is how the vision will come. But I am telling you, it's like for just responding, like biomimicking the response, okay. So we can use them for biomimic the response of different our organs that we are having. Now tunable lenses. I am saying that along with the coating, if I am provide some transparent coating, okay, and it will behave like a tunable lenses. So we have already developed at IIT Roorkee in our one of the lab that the mirror basically made up of dielectric elastomer. So we have some gold plating over that. It's very fine plating. So with the help of, it's a focal and control mirror with the help of dielectric elastomer that we have developed. So it can show enlarge your image, okay. So it will behave like a mirror. So you can see how effectively we can use this dielectric elastomer. That is the answer of second question. Why? It has lot of advantage, low cost, simple, easily available, easy to fabricate, okay. Large deformation, larger flexibility, very high degree of freedom. That is the second concern that, and you can see as an engineer we can utilize them for different application in an effective manner, okay. So that is the second thing. Now we are coming to the third question, how? So when we want to implement something in an application, the first thing that comes to our mind, what are its limitations? That we have to overcome, na? If we are able to overcome the limitation of something, we can implement them for the different application. So this type of structure, like this dielectric elastomer, they exhibit very strong material non-linearity. I hope you have heard about different type of non-linearity. Material non-linearity, geometrical non-linearity, boundary non-linearity, like this. So what is the concern is, this membrane, dielectric membrane that we are considering, it exhibits very strong material non-linearity. Now you should ask, what is the cause of this material non-linearity? Basically this membrane, dielectric membrane, are viscoelastic in nature. If you are talking about acrylic elastomer, okay, that is most abundantly available, commercially available. It is a type of dielectric elastomer. It exhibits strong viscoelastic behavior, okay. So that viscoelastic behavior, and if I am talking simply about the silicon elastomer, they all are hyperelastic material. So in the last lecture, Professor Deepak Kumar has explained that hyperelastic is a non-linear behavior, okay. So that material non-linearity basically arises from the inherent properties of the dielectric elastomer. So whenever we are like modeling something or developing some instrument made up of dielectric elastomer, we have to tackle this viscoelastic behavior or the hyperelastic behavior that is basically responsible for the material non-linearity in an effective manner. I will show you how we have done that thing also. Second is electromechanical coupling. Obviously, when you apply the potential difference, force of attraction will be developed. So there is a strong electromechanical coupling will be there in dielectric elastomer that need to be basically taken as a positive sign, but need to be tackled properly. If you are not taking that electromechanical coupling while modeling or while designing some dielectric elastomer based device, then it is going to be disadvantages for that. So we have to tackle it in a proper manner. Third thing is morphological and operational instability. So you see, we are applying the electric voltage. Definitely there is going to be some limit na, up to which you can apply the electric voltage. It's not like that you can keep on increasing and you will get the actuation. So there is a threshold limit will come. After that, the electrical breakdown of the membrane will take place. So I have shown you here one of the example, how basically the electrical breakdown of the membrane take place. So when you keep on increasing the voltage, a stage will come where the electrical breakdown of the membrane will occur. That is called as pull-in instability. So what is that pull-in instability? Because of the continuous supply. For example, initially you supply, the membrane is compresses. Okay. Again you keep on applying the voltage. So membrane become thin and a stage will come at a threshold value, your membrane will get electrical breakdown. So that instability or that basically the failure is referred to as pull-in instability in dielectric elastomer. Second one is, for example, I will discuss that thing in detail. If you provide some compression here at your hand, you can try this. The wrinkle will develop. If you provide some more compression like this, loosen karke skin ko, and you provide it, some wrinkles will be developing. So what you are doing basically, you are basically providing in-plane compression. You are providing a compression, okay? And what is happening to relax that in-plane compression, out-of-plane deformation is taking place in the form of a wrinkle. So people also says that when you keep on applying this electric voltage, and that is a specific condition, if you are also a pre-stretch of the membrane, then the wrinkle will start developing. So I hope this is, you can see some wrinkles pattern here. So this is also a type of instability, but I will show you that as an engineer, we can also harness this instabilities. So we have already done that. We have harnessed that wrinkle pattern in our lab, and that can be used for different applications. So now I hope you understand how, and the last important is also very, very high voltage requirement. So that we have already seen that a high voltage in kV, kilovolt, is required for them to get actuated. On the other hand, there are like ionic polymers also, very low voltage is required for them to get actuated. But all will have advantage and disadvantage or limitation, okay? So they will not provide that much actuation. They will get actuated at a low voltage, but this dielectric elastomer required high voltage, but it will show very high actuation also. I hope you understand what, why and how. How basically I will show the mathematical modeling aspect and design aspect, experimental also. The first concern is what we understand, what is dielectric elastomer. Already we have seen on all the slides. I hope you will get the basic understanding of the working mechanism and why it is important. That is the important second part. Now how I will show you how we are going to use them for the different applications. Okay. Now the other important aspect that we are basically using. So we are basically using this dielectric elastomer in the development of minimum energy structure. So as a name suggests, you all get at least some quite anticipated something. What is this? Minimum energy structure. Definitely a system with minimum energy. Energy minimization. Dr. Prashant Saxena has also discussed, for a system to be a stable one, it need to be minimize its energy. It need to follow the principle of energy minimization. So what we are doing basically, we say that we utilize this capability of dielectric elastomer. Which capability? Large deformation that it is showing. Okay. So we say that okay, this dielectric elastomer is showing a very unique capability of undergoing large deformation. So what we can develop some different type by attaching that dielectric membrane to some compliant frame, and we can utilize its property of large deformation for the development of different devices. So first question that need to come, what is this dielectric elastomer minimum energy structure? As the name suggests, dielectric elastomer minimum energy structure, it represents a complex 3D equilibrium configuration. So this is a complex 3D equilibrium configuration that is characterized by the minimum energy of the system. So how it is basically, what we can try to understand, what is the mechanics of this. So we already seen that this is dielectric elastomer membrane. And we have already seen that the pre-stretching of the membrane play a very important role. I will just give a quick overview why. For example, if you are having a membrane of 1 mm thickness, okay, and we directly apply the voltage to that. So what your voltage will do, it will compresses the membrane in the thickness direction. So that will be basically cause the deformation of the membrane. Now we are initially providing the pre-stretching to that membrane, okay. So already that membrane will be compresses in the thickness direction and expand in the aerial direction. Pre-stretching basically we are providing. Now for the low voltage, if you are already pre-stretched that membrane, so whatever the response you want, at the low voltage you will get that. If you are not pre-stretching, you have to apply the higher voltage. So pre-stretching play a very important role in reducing the voltage requirement. So what that one concern is here, high voltage requirement. If you pre-stretch it at the low voltage, you can provide the same response as the membrane without pre-stretch that require higher voltage. You're getting my point? So for you, we will tomorrow bring the different type of pre-stretching mechanism that we have developed to show you how we can basically pre-stretch this dielectric elastomer membrane. Okay. Now you see this is a simple membrane. Now it is in the pre-stretch state. Now what you are having a compliant frame. That frame is nothing. So all of you have seen your transparent file that you have used in day-to-day life na, for keeping the documents. So that basically is made up of PET material, polyethylene terephthalate material. So that standard material you can directly bought from the supplier. We have bought basically, and we are basically what we are doing, we cut that PET frame in the required shape of the configuration that we want. For example, I want to develop a bending actuator, simple bending actuator. I take this compliant frame, cut it, and make some hollow section at the center position. Okay. Then what we do, on that pre-stretching mechanism, we put that compliant frame. This is a pre-stretch membrane. Already in a stretching mechanism, it is being pre-stretched. We apply the compliant frame over that. Okay. And at that compliant frame, basically, we will put at the top and the bottom. We are having the hollow portion. So we can put the carbon grease. Okay. Then basically it will be put it. Now you can cut it with the help of some razor blade. So the concept is what we are utilizing, because of the pre-stretching of the membrane, elastic energy will be developed. You are providing some pre-stretching to the membrane. Initially a membrane is there, you provide equibiaxial, uniaxial, whatever you are providing. Definitely there is some elastic energy will be developed in the membrane. Okay, stresses will be developed. Now you are using that elastic energy, आपने bound कर रखा है mechanical constraint से. And when you put some compliant frame over that, so basically when you release it, what will happen? That energy of the membrane basically try to bend the frame or the entire configuration, and it will bend up to particular point when its energy get minimized. So that we have already seen ना, top से अगर ball को छोड़ते हैं जब तक उसकी energy minimize नहीं हो जाती, it will keep on. So if you see the desired shape of the configuration that you want, basically you can design the frame in such a way that when you put the frame over the membrane and release it. So what is actually happening if you are developing a bending actuator? So at one of the extremities point, you keep it more area as well as you provide some extra material. So at that point, you are basically restricting it to get bent. Definitely it will bend on the other direction. So it will behave like a bending actuator, it can develop. So that is the first case. Because of the pre-stretching, elastic energy will be developed and it will bend the structure to attain a minimum energy configuration. So that is called as initial minimum energy configuration, because we have not applied any voltage. Yet we have not applied any voltage. So minimum energy configuration is also we can discuss in two parts. Initial configuration, final configuration. So you are obtaining this configuration when no voltage is applied. Now in the second case, you supply the electric voltage. So what will happen? Again the energy will get changed. Okay, so overall elastic energy that you are having will going to change. So what is happening? It will try to unflap itself, or it will try to open itself to its original configuration. Try to go back to its original configuration. It will not exactly go back to its original configuration, but it will open up to some extent. And how much it will get open? When it's again the energy will get minimized. So that configuration is called as final or actuated minimum energy configuration. So you understand there are two minimum energy configuration in dielectric membrane, dielectric elastomer based minimum energy structure. First one basically initial configuration when no voltage is applied, and second one is when the voltage is applied, it is called as final or actuated minimum energy configuration. Now you see, we understand what is dielectric elastomer based minimum energy structure, working principle we understand. We are using the characteristic of dielectric membrane with the compliant frame to develop minimum energy structure. And you can see that with the help of this minimum energy structure, we can replicate the motion of our human fingers also. We have already developed, I will show you. And as a gripper, if you see, initially you want to develop some gripper, you develop this type of shape. It's an arbitrary shape that is being taken, not an optimized one. So when you pre-stretch it and release it from external constraint and put it over some object, it will hold it. Now supply the voltage, it will release it. Again keep the voltage zero, again it will hold it. So that process keep on repeating itself. That is the unique characteristic that dielectric elastomer have. When you keep switch off the voltage, it will go back to its original configuration. So that characteristic of DEMS, why? That is the answer. Because if you can see, the complicated 3D structure can easily be fabricated by just designing the shape of this frame, component frame. Okay. So different application you can see. This is a gripper made up of dielectric elastomer based minimum structure, and payload capacity I can tell you. Initially what we have do, we also provide some stiffening effect, so it can also hold some apple, some soft object, it can easily handle it. And I will show you one video where dielectric elastomer is also used to lift the dumbbell. So if you are having a doubt that how much payload it can, basically the load it can carry, so still a lot of advancement has been done. Even it can lift the dumbbell of around 5 kg. I can show you that video also. So, but it's not like from the initial state. They have developed some mechanism. They have incorporated some tune that. That's what I'm telling you. The tuning capability of this dielectric elastomer is very, very important. Now, you see a lot of example. This is a bistable structure. It can go like this. It can go like this also. Okay. And this is a flapping wing. So they are develop a simple bending actuator and then merge them on a common platform to develop flapping wing type of structure. This is a simplistic bending actuator. Now, every coin has two aspects. वो आसान लग रहा है, that's not too much easy. Two aspect means we are having a positive. I am showing you all the positive here, but it is also have some negative aspects also, or the coin has other aspect also. Lot of problem, lot of challenges while designing this type of minimum energy structure. I have already faced. I have developed lot of minimum energy structure, but there are a lot of challenges. So what is that challenges is, this membrane already exhibit material non-inerty. We have seen that. Hyperelastic, viscoelastic behavior. Already exhibiting a strong material non-inerty. Now what we are doing, we are attaching a frame with that also. That frame, because of the attachment of that frame, now we are having the configuration as a combination of two parts. Frame and the membrane. We will have geometrical non-inerty. Also creep in. So initially you are tackling the material non-inerty. Now you are also have to deal with the geometrical non-inerty that arises because of the coupling of the frame and the membrane. So that is the most important challenge. The second part, when you are applying the electrical voltage, strong electromechanical coupling will be there. That need to be tackled very effective manner. I hope you understand what, why, how I will show you. How is not that much easy. What is dielectric elastomer based minimum energy structure? We all understand. It is a complex 3D equilibrium configuration characterized by the minimum energy state of the system. Whenever the state achieves the minimum energy, it will try to attain a configuration is called as minimum energy structure. Since it is utilizing dielectric elastomer with the frame, it is called as dielectric elastomer based minimum energy structure. Okay? I hope you understand. Please follow. Up to this point is clear? Any doubt till this point? Please ask me anything you want to ask. Dielectric elastomer is all clear, I know. Now minimum energy structure is clear or not? So, yeah, please. So you are saying that when we apply the load to it, okay, so very good thing. But initially I am telling you, we are not applying any type of load to that. We are basically providing a pre-state to that membrane. Okay, we are having, it will basically, application is that it will basically lift the load. We are not, what we are supplying, we are providing two things. Initially we are providing pre-stretching. So pre-stretching we are providing. What are the inputs? Pre-stretch of the membrane. Okay? And electric voltage. That is also as an input we are providing in the second configuration. So when we remove, for example, because of the pre-stretching, when we release it, it will get a minimum energy, it will hold an object. Now in the second phase, when you apply the voltage, it will release it. But again, when you provide the voltage, like keep the voltage to 0, it will come back to its original configuration. Basically, hyperelastic rubber type of material you have seen. The important characteristic is they can regain its original configuration. That is the important. So load we are not providing. We are providing pre-stretching and an electric voltage. So electric voltage basically you can consider as what we are doing. we are supplying a potential difference that will create a force. Basically, the electrostatic force of attraction will be developed. You're getting my point? Okay.
In one point you said they have been used for mirror fabrication also.
Mirror fabrication.
So how much reflectivity we are getting with that?
Yes. So for getting an effective result, what we are saying that we are instead of using carbon grease as a conductive electrode we have to use some material. The coating need to be provided that whose reflectivity is very much higher. So I have given you one example. In our lab, the people have used gold plating, not that much 24 karat. Like it's a very, very fine gold coating, very fine and very thin. It's a coating and it provides a very good result. You can get a very clear picture of what we are looking at that object. So I have a paper also of that, I can show you. And we can control that basically the image with the help of the focal length. We can have the zoomed image, we can have the minimized image. So that basically can be controlled with the help of the coating that we are providing. So we will get a very good, if we are using an effective coating, we will get a very good response out of it. Okay. I will show a paper to you also. In our group, we have paper published. Okay. Yeah, please.
Can you explain what you mean by geometric nonlinearity?
Huh.
And also, how are the free, in one of the points there was, okay, in order to get a complex desirable 3D shape. So how do you predict this nonlinearity such that we have cut a frame such a way that we get that desired?
Okay. So first thing is, the important thing is how you are going to design the shape of the frame and how the geometrical nonlinearity come into picture. That's your concern. Okay. So for example, if as an engineer I know which equipment or which device I am going to develop. Initially, for example, I have a knowledge that I have to develop a bending actuator. Very simplistic case. I can show you also. I will come to that. But if you are asking a question in between. For example, I want to develop a bending actuator. I am saying. So in order to develop that bending actuator, what I need? I need to design the frame in such a way that it will have an ability when it will get combined with the membrane and we release it. We have to design the frame in such a way that it will provide a bending actuation shape also. But again, an important point is, for example, if we are controlling the shape, initial shape by providing the stiffener. Why we have provided stiffener? To provide stiffening effect. Okay. Now I say that instead of getting a bending actuation modes, I need twisting actuation modes also. Because in the flapping wing, ऐसा तो नहीं है कि you will have only the bending. You will have bending as well as twisting. So now you know that you need twisting modes also. So what you can do, over the frame you provide the stiffener at a certain orientation. So now you are seeing how we are basically governing, pre-anticipated all this thing. We have anticipated that we need a bending actuator. So we cut the shape of the frame in the form of a rectangular bending frame. Okay. Now we want, after the application of the voltage, not only the bending mode of the actuation, we want twisting modes of actuation. Again, what we have done, initially we provide stiffener for getting some stiffening element, stiffness. Now we provide the stiffener at an orientation. So what we are doing? We are governing the application in which we are going to implement. So frame shape as well as the other ingredient that you are implementing can be used to control the, forecast the application in which you are going to use this DEMS. That is one concern. And how it is going to produce the geometrical aspect. If you see mathematically, when we have this, so in the combination, the total energy of the system will definitely going to be the summation of the frame bending energy as well as membrane strain energy. Membrane is already pre-stretched, so it will have some strain energy. And your frame, because of the pre-stretching of the membrane, and when you release it, it will going to attain a configuration. So your total potential energy of the DEMS will be the summation of the frame bending energy as well as membrane strain energy. So when you club them together, if you are taking individually, so if you see, lot of parameter will creep in. Mathematically I can show you. So what is happening? This frame, basically the dimension of the frame bending stiffness, okay, get clubbed with the shear modulus of the membrane. It will get clubbed. I will show you here. So if you see, KBB is the frame bending stiffness. So frame that you are implementing, it will have some bending stiffness. I will go into detail right now, but I am just answering your question. So frame bending stiffness, if you see, it is going to be a function of the shear modulus of the membrane also. And practically you can also think, if this is the structure, you are having a compliant frame, this is your frame bending stiffness, 2 strips, that is providing a bending stiffness, and that stiffness basically is going to be a function of the shear modulus. The larger you are providing the membrane with the pre-stretch, and the larger the shear modulus of the membrane will be there, more strain energy of the membrane will be there. If the membrane has larger shear modulus, uski strain energy directly you can see from the Neo-Hawkian and different model, it will have developed the large strain energy. One thing. And if the membrane have the larger strain energy, so it will try to bend the frame more. And frame has some bending stiffness, it will try to resist. So ultimately you see the frame bending stiffness get dependent upon the shear modulus of the membrane and the pre-stretch that you are providing to the membrane. So you see how geometrically our structure gets coupled. So you are getting my point? I hope I am able to answer your 2 points. Okay. So let's come back to dielectric elastomer. How? Very, very, very important question. Yeah.
Sir, is there any particular property why we are using PET vessel, or can we use any other material?
Yes, definitely. So the property is that it is a compliant in nature. So when you are applying the pre-stretch membrane with that, it can bend easily. You can use other different, I will show you one video. Initially they started with different material, then they moved to the PET material because of this characteristic. I have video to show you also why we have moved to PET material. Okay. So I will start with a very simple case study, okay, that we have developed, and I will show you how we are going to develop the DEMS based actuator. So I will start with a very simple, I am telling you, we have already asked this question to Prashant Saxena sir also. Can we model everything analytically? It's very, very difficult. Okay. So I am telling you, as an engineer, for solving any of the problem, we are having 3 different aspects. So can you name the 3 different way we can solve a problem? So how you can solve a problem if you are having a problem? First is, yeah, theoretically, very nice. Numerically, experimentally. Nice. So for any problem, engineering problem, you can solve it either by developing an analytical model for that or theoretical model. Second one is carry out an experiment. Experimentally you can solve. And third one is basically numerical technique. So if you see, analytical model are the exact, it will provide you the exact solution. But it's very, very difficult to obtain. Okay. You can see that also. For a simplistic case, how complicated it becomes. Okay. Experimental is the best one. Actual what you are having, you are implementing that. And the numerical one is basically an approximate solution, like finite element. Okay. They will provide you an approximate solution. But for a very, very complex problem, it's not advisable to develop analytical model. A lot of computational expenses will come, or very, very complicated equation will come. You are not able to solve that. So finite element or numerical techniques are utilized there. Okay. So let's see how we can develop this dielectric elastomer based minimum energy structure model. So very simple case we will start, and I will take you to the advanced application. Okay. So we have developed initially a simplistic bending actuator made up of DEMS. So we are having a compliant frame. Okay. We are using a pre-stretch membrane. So this dark blue is the initial membrane, and this light blue is when the membrane is pre-stretch. Okay. What is happening? We attach this pre-stretch membrane to the frame. Actually, it's not like that. So you are having a pre-stretch membrane in the whole area, and you put the frame over that. But mathematically, what is happening at that effective area we are looking, the active area, that is being generated by providing the carbon grease. So analytically, we are trying to see the important effective part. So this is the frame and the membrane structure. Okay. Now what is happening? When you release it, definitely a structure try to attain a bending shape. Now the question need to come to your mind, sir, why this membrane remain here? It will also go with the frame. And it is actually. If you see experimentally, this membrane also deform with the frame, obtaining a very saddle, complex saddle shape. Okay. But as you know, whenever you are developing some model, you have to take some assumption. If I will not take this assumption, how I will take the membrane pre-stretch energy? What is actually happening? I am providing a pre-stretch to the membrane and attach the compliant frame, and when we release it, both will get deformed. membrane will take a saddle shape along that rectangular hollow portion. But in order to avoid the mathematical complexity, we take an assumption that this is the pre-state membrane and the frame will get deformed. Actually, the membrane will also get deformed. I will tell you, we have also validated that this will not have a major effect on the result output. We have validated with the experimental. Okay, so that is one thing. If we are looking into the membrane part only, we are having a 3 configuration. Initial membrane is there. Initial configuration, reference configuration. Second one is what? Pre-stage configuration. And third one is what? Actuated configuration when you apply the voltage to that. So if you are looking at the membrane, we are having 3 configuration: initial, stretched, and electric voltage. So this is the 3 configuration. Now analytically, what we have developed, you see, there is a length L. This is not L1, this is L basically. It is the pre-state length of the membrane, or when the voltage is being applied. So if you see in this schematic diagram, we write a mathematical expression 2c by theta sine theta by 2. Theta is what? It is the bending angle. When you pre-stretch it attached to the frame, structure will attain an initial configuration. So that angle with the horizontal, if you see here, that is represented as theta. So mathematically we say that this length of the membrane is equal to 2c by theta sine theta by 2. So how it comes? So it will basically the right expression. If we put theta to be 0, when membrane is attached to the frame, theta is basically 0 here. It's 0. No bending, initially it is being attached. Then bending, then the theta will come into picture. Theta 0, when you put it in this expression, L-Hospital rule you have to apply. So what you will get? L equal to C. And it is. Means this length L is equal to the curved length when theta is 0. So this mathematical expression basically satisfies the basic thing. If we take the length of this is the length of the membrane, and this is the curved length of the frame that is being developed after the attachment, it is satisfying this mathematical expression. Fine. Because we are developing an analytical model. Then what we have seen that because of the pre-stretching of the membrane, the frame will get bent. So the frame bending energy, very, very simple expression, m square dx by 2 EI. All of you are basically familiar with that expression. So we have rearranged it by putting the expression of I here. So we will get EBD cube by 24C. C is basically this curved length. It can be written as half kb theta square. What is kb here? Frame bending stiffness. Because we are talking about the frame bending energy, kb is the frame bending stiffness. So what is the function of the bending stiffness? It will try to resist the bending of the frame. The larger the value of the frame bending stiffness, the more the resistance it will offer to the membrane against the bending. Getting my point? Okay. Now, entire DMS consists of 2 parts. Membrane energy is also required. So we have already seen a lot of models. Neo-Hawkian, Mooney-Rivlin, Gantt model, augmented model you have already seen. There is Ogden model is there, Fung model, lot of models are there. But I will tell you, when you are solving analytically, if instead of taking I am taking a very simple Neo-Hawkian model here. If I will take other model also, so I will tell you, this is my very simple equation. I have put it in short way here. It's a very, very one-page equation. By using a very simplistic Neo-Hawkian model. If I will use higher order model, it will get very, very complicated. But this model is generalized. Instead of Neo-Hawkian, you can use any of the model. But mathematical complexity will creep in. Okay? But it will also going to provide more closer result as compared to the experiment. So initially we start with a very simplistic model, Neo-Hawkian model. Okay? And what we are trying to basically understand here, the reason behind material non-linearity, that is viscoelastic behavior. How we can basically, this viscoelastic behavior of the membrane will going to govern the attained initial configuration and the final configuration of the minimum energy structure. That is our concern. If you are having a membrane with a different viscosity, how our attained configuration will get affected by it. However, applied voltage that we are going to supply will going to govern the final or actuated configuration. Okay? So, now the energy, if you see, it is not going to be a sum of the simple part, isotropic equilibrium. We are considering the viscous part also. So in case of a viscous part, there is a proportionality constant, mu beta will come. So another thing is we have utilized the Jenner rheological model. I hope you have studied about the different viscoelastic model. आप लोगों ने पढ़ा है? Have you studied? Maxwell model, Kelvin-Voigt model, Jenner model, Burger's model, 4 different types of model we have studied. So in this case, I have implemented a very simplistic Jenner rheological model to incorporate viscoelastic effect. So it consists of a Maxwell element, that is a spring and the dashpot, in parallel with another spring element. Now, can I ask one question? Why I have not used simple model, Maxwell model? Maybe dashpot and spring is there. Kelvin-Voigt model, spring and dashpot in parallel will be there. Directly I can use that model. Why I have taken this Jenner rheological model or standard linear solid model? Why I have taken this? You can think, simple model we can take, na? We can take simple Maxwell model. This is a Maxwell model here. We club the Maxwell model with another spring, okay, to basically utilize the Jenner rheological model. Can we think for a second that why we are going for, instead of simple thing, we are going for a hard thing? Any reason you can think about? Yeah, please.
This new will take their PET that will be taken care by that spring.
But here this model is only for the membrane. It's nothing being concerned with the frame. Everything we are talking about, the membrane viscous effect, and this membrane viscous effect is incorporated by using this Jenner model. My concern is why we are going for a hard thing. We can simply use Maxwell element and we can incorporate viscoelastic behavior. Or Kelvin-Voigt model, इसमें parallel में रहेगा spring और dashpot. You getting my point? What we are considering? Shear energy.
There are two surfaces when bending. There will be some shear involved in the bending.
Okay.
This model can be
Actually, it's not like that here. I will tell you a reason, a very simplistic thing I will tell you. Have you studied whenever we are talking about the viscoelastic effect, two phenomena come. Stress relaxation and creep. These two phenomena come always. So what is stress relaxation? At a particular interval of the time, your stress will initially get degraded and that constant value. Creep, your strain will increase and then attain a constant value. Fine. Now when you are considering a Maxwell element model, I can show you that it will be very good. I have all this model with me. I will share these notes with you. So this is the two important phenomena that we are having. Okay? The stress relaxation and the creep phenomenon. Whenever you are dealing with the viscoelastic material, these two phenomena you have to take into account. Okay? What has happened? Okay? So, if we are considering a very simple case in which Maxwell model is being there, a dashpot is connected in series with the spring element. Okay? So, when we are subjecting that to a loading condition, okay, this model effectively tackles the stress relaxation behavior. So, what we are having the stress relaxation, it can easily incorporate. Okay. But the problem is with this model is that it cannot effectively tackle the creep phenomena. You are getting my point? In detail, I have shared this note, you can go through. When we are considering the Kelvin-Voigt model, in which a spring is in parallel with the dashpot. So when we are supplying that, since it is in parallel with the arrangement so when you are supplying that, it will basically effectively tackle the creep phenomena. But it will fail to capture the stress relaxation. You are getting my point? And why all this thing, I have explained everything in the notes point, you can go through that. Now when we are considering a Jenner rheological model that we have considered, either it can be like this or this, both are same. Kelvin-Voigt model basically in series with the spring element, or this Maxwell element in parallel with the spring element. When we are considering the standard linear solid model or the Jenner rheological model, both the important phenomena creep and the stress relaxation, it can effectively capture. Okay. Mathematically, you can go through all this expression. If I will go in the detail, it will be a different lecture on the viscoelasticity. Just keep in the mind that when we are considering this Jenner rheological model or standard linear solid model, it can tackle the both important phenomena, creep and the stress relaxation of the viscoelastic material. That is dielectric membrane we are considering. Okay. So we will go back. Now we understand that I have considered the Gina rheological model. Why? To tackle the both effective phenomena that is being there in the dielectric membrane. That is responsible for the viscoelastic behavior. Creep and stress relaxation. Is it fine? Now, the good thing is that all the equation that I am showing you here, tomorrow in the lecture we will try to show you with the help of MATLAB how we have solved this equation. That is an important thing. The learning phase is that you can see, visualize the thing that how we can develop the code and we can solve it very effective manner. I will share the code with you all also. So you can practice at whatever you want and you can use them for your research work also. Okay. Now the total potential energy of the DMS. Okay. Now we see that we are providing a membrane, a pre-stretch in this direction. And in the other direction we are not providing. There is a specific reason for that. Because if you provide in that particular direction, then release it, the structure will attain a configuration easily. Okay. Now what is happening? You know that lambda, stretch, it is the final dimension upon original dimension. Strain क्या होता है? Change in dimension upon original dimension. But here the stretch is final dimension upon original. Already we have seen yesterday, it is 1 plus strain. Or if you write the definition of strain, you can find the definition of stretch. Now in direction number 1, if we are considering, it is going to basically, we assume that it is lambda. It is going to be the final dimension, that is we are obtaining upon initial dimension. So that is going to be a function of this L. So basically we are having a stretch definition in terms of this angle theta. So when you put the final dimension upon initial, so what is the initial dimension of this membrane? It is L0 or L1 by L0. Yeah, L by L0. L is basically the function of this. So basically L, this theta, you will put it value here. So you get 2c by theta sin theta by 2 L0. L0 is the original dimension. You're getting my point? So you are getting the stretch in terms of the theta, bending angle. And basically if you see, this lambda 2 direction 1 means there is no stretch in the, pre-stretch in the direction number 2. And in compressible nature, lambda 3 is 1 upon lambda 1, lambda 2. Yeah, lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3 is 1. Lambda 1 is basically lambda, lambda 2 is 1. So what is lambda 3? It is 1 upon lambda. All this term you put it here in the Neo-Hawken energy model. Okay. And this is basically for the viscous effect. So you will get the total potential energy of the DMES. Okay. So you see here, this is the frame part, this is the membrane part. And all this thing, you have explained the pre-stretch and stretch, everything, the stretch you are having in terms of the bending angle theta. How? By using the mathematical concept. If this expression is being satisfied the condition, initial condition, it can be further utilized for the development of an equation. Definitely, you know, we require the equation in terms of the bending angle. Then we can solve. If we are providing this stiffness, we are providing that much of pre-stretch, how it is going to govern the attained initial angle, initial configuration. And in the membrane, definitely the electrical energy you are going to supply. Initially it will be going to be 0. This part is not there when you are considering the attained initial or the equilibrium angle. But in the second case, when you apply the voltage, this part will come into picture. So initially this part is going to 0, but when you are considering the second case, final or actuated configuration, this part will come into picture. Now, this model, I will give an example to you. All this model that we are showing here, you can see this bending actuator, they all undergo dynamic motion. Okay. So basically, we have to develop a dynamic equation of the motion to solve this equation. Basically, we have to develop a dynamic framework to basically replicate the motion of this DMS actuator. Why? Because all of this, during their application, they undergo transient motion, the variation with the time. Okay, the dynamic analysis we have to carry out. So for that, basically, we need kinetic energy. So kinetic energy of the system, very, very crude assumption we have taken. We directly consider it as half I omega square for the entire structure. For the membrane part, we have neglected. If we consider for the membrane kinetic energy also, it will be very, very complicated expression. But what we have given a concern here, membrane is very, very thin as compared to the frame. So we can neglect the kinetic energy of the membrane in membrane in comparison to the frame. So that assumption we have considered. That's why I am telling you, we always look into the assumption part and we also see how that assumption is going to affect your research. So you see that whenever you are having experimental result and some model that you have developed, some source of discrepancy will come into picture. But you should know why it come into picture, the reason you should know. Because we are considering some assumption and it is required. Without assumption, you can't solve mathematical equations. It's very, very complicated. So we are considering the kinetic energy as half I omega square and omega is d theta by dt. Again, all thing will be the function of bending angle. Now, you have already seen that for considering the Rayleigh dissipation function you have considered. For considering the dissipation energy, we have seen that different models are available. Rayleigh dissipation functions is the most commonly available one. So we have utilized the Rayleigh dissipation function here. Okay, you can get the basic expression or the derivation in different books or the notes I will share. Okay. Now, yesterday Dr. Prashant Saxena has also explained that Euler-Lagrange equation of the motion is your governing equation that you require. Basically, you have to develop the governing equation by using Euler-Lagrange equation of the motion. All the derivative part you have seen there. So here, what is our variable? It is theta. So you write Euler-Lagrange equation of the motion in terms of the theta. Okay. And what is L here? Can anybody know what is L here? Lagrangian. L is a Lagrangian. It is the difference between kinetic energy and potential energy. So T is the kinetic energy, U is the potential energy of the DEMES. So when we have the expression of L, that is T here minus U here, and you put it all the expression in this part, Euler-Lagrange equation of the motion, you will get a equation of the motion, non-linear dynamic governing equation of the motion, that is completely entirely in terms of the theta. It is a function of theta, it is a function of lambda pre-stretch, okay, and you can see the other factor is theta. So here we have considered a lot of normalized parameter we have considered. Can anybody tell me why we usually consider normalized parameter? We can have the geometrical parameter, we can keep on feeding the value for different material, we can solve it. But what we have done, we have dimensionless quantity we have introduced and we have arranged this equation in the dimensionless pattern. Any reason?
That it can take care of various kind of situations, various electric fields, various electric fields for various structures.
Very nice. So why you normally done normalization? आप देखें, if you are having, we are considering your grade also, we done normalization. ठीक है, standard एक set कर देते हैं, we done normalization with a standard. So why normalization is required? One answer he has already rightly point out. For different parameters, you can have a standard values. We can directly incorporate it by considering a simple value. Okay, that is one thing. For simplification, that is the one thing. So for example, if you know a frame is there, it will have frame bending stiffness is with us. We are going to vary that thing. So in this case, if I say that frame bending stiffness is going to change, shear modulus is going to change, we find out that if for the different case we keep on creeping in this value, it will be very difficult. So we say that a standard value of the frame bending stiffness will vary from 0 to some value, 1. 0.25 will come in between, 0.5 will come in between, all the value will come. So for the different case, it's very easy to put the value of KBB. Instead of if you are going to put the value of shear modulus, you are going to put the value of all the dimensions here and KB value. So very simple case, if you do the dimensionless case, it will be very easy to solve the equation. For the different material, you can directly feed a simple value here. That is one thing. Okay. Now, in order to solve this equation, we require some initial boundary conditions also. Initial condition. Initially, if you see what is theta, bending angle when no membrane is not released from the external structure, theta is 0. At time t0, both are attached together. When you apply it with the help of a razor blade, release them, then they will attain a certain angle. So initially theta is 0. When theta is 0, what is d theta by dt? It is also going to be 0. And we assume that initially, you see in this equation, there is a parameter called lambda viscous. When you are considering the viscoelastic effect, there is a parameter called as internal variable, viscous stretch. So membrane is there, you are providing a pre-stretch to the membrane, but it is viscoelastic in nature. There is an internal variable that automatically creep in when you are considering the mathematical model. That is lambda viscous. It is a internal variable that you need to evaluate. But for initial condition, we assume that whatever the pre-stretch that you are providing to the membrane will be the viscous stretch of the membrane. For starting initial condition, you can also put some value like 1. But usually it is being observed that when you are considering lambda viscous, that is internal variable, to the pre-stage of the membrane, your result matches well with the experiment. So we have considered lambda viscous at initial to the pre-stage of the membrane. Then it keep on evolving with the time. It keep on changing. Okay. How it keep on changing? So this is one equation that basically give you the non-linear dynamic equation of the motion of the DMS. This is the initial condition. Now I am saying that viscous stretch is not going to be a constant. Our theta, it keep on evolving with the time. Similarly, our viscous stretch in the membrane is going to evolve with the time. So for getting that particular value of the viscous stretch over the time, we need a separate equation. So here, in the Euler-Lagrange equation of the motion, theta is the variable. Theta is going to change with the time. Now similarly, we say that our viscous stretch, that is internal variable, again going to change with the time. So again, by putting here, instead of theta, we will put lambda viscous. We will get another equation. That is called as evolution equation of the DMS. Why it is called as evolution equation? Because it will see, or it will taken care of our viscous stretch that get evolved with the time. How our viscous stretch, when you are having a dynamic motion, your pre-stretch, for example, if you are initially providing some pre-stretch, okay, but the internal variable, the viscous stretch that is being developed in the membrane, it keep on changing with the time, as our initial bending angle keep on changing with the time. So that is why it is called as evolution equation. It shows how your viscous stretch will evolve with the time. Why it is important? If you see in this expression, you are having lambda viscous here, okay, you are having lambda viscous here. You can solve this equation, you can't solve this equation by putting the value of lambda viscous here again and again. And how it comes? In this equation, if you see, lambda viscous is being there. More rigorous expression I have a paper I can share with you, but main thing you have to understand. Total potential energy is the summation of two, kinetic energy, Lagrangian, Euler-Lagrange equation of the motion. You will get the non-linear dynamic equation of the motion. In my paper, you can find I have written one word by word. Even you can replicate that paper. Even don't a single sentence we have missed. That derivation we have explained step by step also. I will share that paper right now, okay. So you can follow that paper, and if you see, now we are having two things, evolution equation and the non-linear dynamic equation. We need to solve this equation, okay. And in this equation, basically, if you see, there is a parameter called eta. How it comes? We are having the dissipation, really dissipation energy. There is a parameter called eta is there. So eta is the viscosity parameter. That if you are going to change, you will get to know how the viscosity of the membrane is going to govern the attained initial and the final confidence. Getting my point? Okay. So we are having two equation and initial condition. So we solve it by using MATLAB OD45 solver. That's what I am planning tomorrow, to show you how we can incorporate all this equation in the MATLAB and how we can basically play with the different parameters. Okay. You will all get the glimpse of this thing. It's not like that we are just showing you and you can. We will show you MATLAB. I will solve here with you. With the basic things we will start. You understand what we are doing. You understand the concept. How we are doing, I will show you tomorrow. Okay. Now the thing is, when you evolve this, like initially when you, in the MATLAB OD45 solver, why it is called 45, I will give you an answer for that. Because for solving this partial ordinary differential equations, this is a ordinary differential equation, partial, okay. For solving that, in the MATLAB we are having OD45 solver. 45 means 4 stand for Runge-Kutta method of fourth order. Okay. So fourth order method of RK method, basically of fourth order. So all of you have gone through that RK method. I hope you all have gone through the RK method in the mathematics. So it is a fourth order RK method with a truncation error. So we have already seen that there is some truncation error of dt order. dt is the time step. So there is a truncation error of dt to the power 5. So RK method with a truncation error of dt to the power 5. That's why it is called as OD45. Different solver are there. RK method of second order is also there. Okay, so in that case it is different name. How much the truncation error it will take into account. So MATLAB, different solver are there, but this OD45 is an effective solver which can give a very good results when you implement it. Okay, I will show you tomorrow that. Now, by using MATLAB OD45 solver, with the time, we keep on finding the value of lambda viscous. Initial value we have lambda viscous equal to lambda p. Then we put it back into this equation. Every time we put the value of lambda viscous and solve for theta, we will get the value of theta with the time. Your theta with the time basically is the plot that you require. How your angle basically, for example, you pre-stretch it and release it. So with the time it keep on attaining an angle. So theta is initially going to be a function of that, then it will attain a final state. When you apply the voltage again with the time, it's going to go back. So ultimately what you are trying to find out, the value of the attained initial angle and the final angle by using the different parameter. What is the pre-stretch of the membrane? What is the frame bending stiffness? Getting my point? So here eta is the parameter, and when we solved it, I am telling you for dynamic analysis, there are three important parameters. One is the time history plot. Have you seen this time history plot? As the name suggests, with the time system response parameter, your variable you are going to plot. For example, what is the parameter here? Theta. Or in dielectric elastomer, it is stretch, lambda. Okay. In some cases, it is position, x, with the time. So what it will shows how your system response variable is going to evolve with the time. Time history plot. So dynamic analysis, time history plot is very important. Second one is the phase portrait, or you also call it, you have seen about this phase portrait. I will go into detail one by one. So this is a time history plot. This is a phase portrait, and there is another parameter called as Poincare map. So this is Poincare map. For a non-linear dynamic analysis of any system, if you plot these three curves, this three feature if you take into account, you can predict the dynamic behavior of the system in very effective manner. So you see that when we have incorporated the different value of this eta here, the vibration attenuates. If you keep on increasing, the vibration attenuates more slowly, or the time taken by the structure will keep on increasing. So what it indicates that our viscoelasticity of the membrane play a very important role. This is our attained initial equilibrium angle, or initial angle you can say. So our initial angle gets significantly governed by the viscoelastic behavior of the membrane. That is what we are trying to find out. If we are having a different membrane with different viscosity parameter, we know that the membrane with this viscosity will going to attain the angle fast, or will going to attain the angle in a slow manner. So that mathematically we have proven. Second thing is that this is a 3D plot, very interesting one, I will tell you. Here two parameters are there. One is the pre-stretch of the membrane. What is the pre-stretch? You can see here, we have already provided the pre-stretch to the membrane. Okay. And the second one is the frame bending stiffness. This KBB. Now you see this 3D plot, how it signifies that. We can anticipate this thing. If you are having more pre-stretching of the membrane, if you pre-stretch membrane more, so what will happen? This energy will be more. Pre-stretching of the membrane means more strain energy of the membrane. Simple. So this membrane basically is being attached to the frame. So if energy of the membrane is more, it will try to bend the structure more. If you stretch the membrane more, okay, pre-stretch the membrane more elastic energy, more strain energy, it will try to bend the frame more. So your attained angle will increases. You can anticipate this thing. If you are having the more pre-stretching energy, this is pre-stretch of the membrane. As from here to here, it is increasing, 2, 2.5 like this. So you see your attained equilibrium angle will keep on increasing. And if you are considering this frame bending stiffness, so bending stiffness means this two bending strip that you are considering. So if the frame bending stiffness is high, what it will do? It will try to give more resistance to the membrane to bend itself. It will go more resistant. It will not allow the membrane to bend the entire structure. Or if it is less, then frame will bend more easily. When frame will bend, your attained equilibrium angle will increases. So I hope this is the two parameter, and that we can anticipate. We can think. Physically we are thinking like this. But with the model you can see with the equation we are also getting the same result. So in this case if you see your frame bending stiffness keep on reducing, as it keep on reducing your equilibrium angle keep on increasing. So अगर higher pre-stretch है और lower frame bending stiffness है maximum आपका equilibrium angle आएगा. That is required. Your maximum pre-stretch, minimum frame bending stiffness, you will get the maximum attained equilibrium angle. So now you can see, we can control for a particular application. If you want a more initial angle, you can tune in such a way that provide more pre-stretch, have the less frame bending stiffness, you will get the maximum attained initial angle. I hope you are getting my point. He is asking that how we can basically club together. So you see mathematically, this KBB is a function of the frame bending, basically the shear modulus and the dimension of the membrane also. So geometrically, the geometrical non-linearity that come into picture is being tackled here. Okay, that's why normalization is also being done here for the simplification. I hope the first case is clear, viscoelastic. So don't get bored with this. We are coming to a very interesting topics now. You will see a lot of advantages now, how we are implemented for this application. So what is the, okay, I have to little bit in a quick way, I will go. So basic understanding we are having. Now what is happening? In the scientific community, there is a very strong interest in incorporating anisotropic behavior of different material. You have already seen that people are working on different aspects with respect to the anisotropic behavior. They are saying that if you incorporate some anisotropy, we can control some different, we can tune basically the final configuration of them. So okay, we says that okay, that's fine. We can also implement in dielectric elastomer also. So we says that you can consider a very simple example. I will give you an example. We are having a playing card. We all play with the playing card. Okay, take one card, take one rubber of particular thickness. So you can see this like this. This is a playing card, yellow one. And on the outer periphery, you put that rubber. So what will be happen? Your card will bend. It will bend. I'm just giving an example to you. Now what you do, replace the same thickness rubber with the different small rubber. Ultimately, the overall thickness along this width direction will be the same. So earlier you can see the blue one may be considered as a large rubber with a longer thickness. On the width side you can say larger width. You put it over the card. It will bend it. Now instead of that large width rubber, you put it different small rubber that ultimately will form the same width. Now you can observe your card will bend more. You can perform this at your home. It's a very simple experiment. Why it is being happening? Because you are now incorporating the anisotropic behavior. It's a very crude example I am giving you for just basic understanding. But in dielectric elastomer, when you put that anisotropy fibers in one particular direction to this dielectric elastomer, so what you can anticipate, as you keep on increasing the strength of this fiber reinforcement, more angle you are going to attain. So what you have done, you put fiber in one particular direction, anisotropic behavior you incorporate, and what you are doing, you are increasing the strength of the fiber reinforcement. Definitely it will going to bend more. So if particular application you require more bending angle or initial equilibrium angle, final actuated angle, you can do what? You can incorporate anisotropic behavior in dielectric membrane. So that's the advantage of incorporating anisotropy. So mathematical is very important. Now you are having not a simple rheological model. You will have this model in which two Zener model, one is for the matrix and one is for the fiber will be taken into account. You can very much clear that this is transversely isotropic. We are considering the case. We are incorporating the fiber in this direction. In the transverse direction, the properties are isotropic. They are same. So only in this one particular direction, the property is going to vary. Because we are considering the case of transversely isotropic. So mathematically how it evolved? Earlier you are having only the isotropic part and the electrical part in the strain energy. You are having isotropic part and the viscous part and electrical part. Okay. Now we have also incorporated anisotropy. So there is an isotropic equilibrium, anisotropic part and equilibrium. So in isotropic we are having equilibrium and viscous. Anisotropic we are having equilibrium and viscous and electrical part. Mathematically it changes. And for modeling this anisotropic, transversely isotropic behavior, already a model for dielectric membrane is being developed. It's experimentally validated. So what we have done, we have implemented for DEMES. So we have taken that model, we implement in DEMES. And we can anticipate this thing that yes, when we incorporate a reinforcement of particular strength, and as we keep on increasing the strength, our attained angle is going to vary. So mathematically, you see this is anisotropic equilibrium. It is a function of xi. Xi represent an anisotropic parameter that basically represent the strength of fiber reinforcement in the direction of the fiber. So you see there is a parameter. Mathematically, I will show with the help of paper I already have. Xi is an anisotropic parameter. Okay, that represents the strength of fiber reinforcement in the direction of the fiber. So what is happening? The same equation with anisotropy with the viscous will come into picture. So material non-linearity we are considering. Viscous, anisotropic, hyperelastic we are considering. Geometrical also we are considering parallel. So what is happening if you see when we keep on increasing the strength of the fiber reinforcement? Here you can see xi 0 means isotropic. When you are having the anisotropy parameter to be 0, this part will get vanished. You are having the isotropic membrane. As you keep on increasing the strength of the fiber reinforcement, you see your attained equilibrium angle with the pre-stress value, it keep on increasing. That's what I am saying. If you are having the rubber of the higher strength, it will bend the structure more. Similar concept is being implemented. That we are thinking, but mathematically we have solved it now. So how we evolve? We are incorporating viscous effect. Now we incorporate the anisotropic effect. So this is a very important phenomena, Poincare map and phase portrait. Basically phase portrait is the representation of your position and the velocity in the phase space. So phase space क्या होता है? Prashant sir has already told you what is the space. Phase space is being there. Okay. So basically if you want to plot the variation of like x with dx by dt, theta with d theta by dt, v with dv by dt. So this is called as phase space, and the variation that you are considering of that is called as phase portrait. So I already prepared a good notes for you. This one I will share. So in this you can understand the different viscoelastic model and all the things that I am discussing. Anisotropy, transversely isotropy that I have talked to you. Okay. Dielectric elastomer, DEMS, I will give these notes to you. Experimental, and the two important things that I am discussing. Phase portrait and Poincare maps. Okay. So Poincare map basically this red dots that you are seeing here, it represent the Poincare map. It are the point that is observed in the phase space. Again, phase space means angular velocity if you are considering theta, d theta by dt. So variation what you are plotting in the phase space. So Poincare maps are the point that are observed at an equal interval of the time that basically characterize the fundamental time period of the characterizing function. So fundamental time period के बाद जो point repeat होते जाते हैं intersection, that basically represent Poincare map. Very simple use is that I will tell you, when this Poincare map, it is used to characterize the stability of the system. If you are considering a non-linear dynamic system, if they form a closed loop, so it represents that their system is quasi-periodic in nature. Stable quasi-periodic, you can say. If this Poincare map form a distorted point, large number of distorted points here and there, it means that system is aperiodic in nature. If they form continuously intersect at a particular point and they form a single set of the point, they are called as periodic stable system. So don't worry about this. I have already give these notes to you. Here you can find closed loop, quasi-periodic, single point periodic, and aperiodic oscillation. Okay. Here how it looks like, but you see here, this Poincare map is being plotted with the help of the phase portrait for the resonance case. When your system is excited at resonance excitation frequency. So what is happening? Your structure will deviate from the usual behavior. It forms a closed spiral. You can see the closed spiral is forming here. So you have already studied in the chemistry. Benzene structure. At resonance, it will form a closed spiral type structure. So it indicates that yes, the feature that we are capturing at resonance, it will be completely different from the usual behavior. So you understand, excitation frequency we give equal to the resonance excitation frequency. So our usual behavior get changed, and this all thing you can basically analyze with the help of point Poincare, phase portrait and time history. So for non-linear dynamic analysis of a system, these three plots are very, very important. Tomorrow I will show all this plot, how we can basically plot these things, okay? For basic understanding we get this thing. Now, if you see, as an engineer we always keep on evolving. Very easy to incorporate viscous and anisotropic behavior, but when we carried out an experiment, I will tell you the problem we are facing. This simple bending actuator we see when we have developed it practically, experimentally. So what we are anticipating? We required bending in plane deformation. So when we release that structure, what we observed at the tip, there is some out of plane deformation is also there. So that out of plane deformation is called as warping. Okay, I have shown you a finite element simulation here, response here, but actually when we have also carried out experiment, so when we are not considering that, we observed a significant warping here. Okay, that image is not with me, I will show you later on. So as an engineer, we have to take an effective response to answer all this problem. So what we say is that at the tip, if warping is there, so what is the problem? Is there any problem we are going to face? Just you can think about, brainstorming you can do. If you are having a warping in this bending actuator, difficult to? Bending is the problem, that is one thing. For example, if you are using for different application, 4 we are combining them. Proper gripping we will not get. So what we are doing, basically we develop a single finger and we combine them to use as a gripper application. But if you will have this warping, can we able to grip an object in an effective manner? No. So what we can do? Definitely, so we think about that. Can we put some stiffening element from the tip and its variation along the length of the frame, so that the 2 or 3 things we can cover. You don't see that it will provide definitely a stiffening response. So this is the, when you provide the stiffener, no warping will take place. Stiffener is made up of PLA material. So 3D printed PLA material is there, polylactic acid. So we are having a 3D printed mechanism machine here also. So we have developed the stiffener made up of 3D printed by PLA material, polylactic acid. You have seen the spool of that, it is being coming. In the wire form it will come, okay? No, it will be on the frame. Frame is PET material, polyethylene terephthalate frame. We are putting the stiffener because we have like membrane, we are putting the frame. It's a hollow, frame is basically hollow. At the top of the frame we are basically putting, because ultimately membrane is bending the frame. So what is happening? Membrane is trying to bend that stiffener. I will show you different response of putting this stiffener. First thing is that it will provide stiffening element. Second advantage is that when you change the spacing between the consecutive stiffener, what you are doing basically you are changing the moment. So if you can change the spacing between the consecutive stiffener, you can also control the attained initial bending and the final actuated angle. We have already obtained this result. Third thing is that if we put the stiffener at a certain orientation, as he asked, along with the bending mode of deformation, we are going to get twisting modes of deformation also. So there is a problem, we find a solution, and that solution has a multiple answer to our query. We can control initial and the final angle. We avoid the warping effect. We get the stiffening response. So we are utilizing from gripping application. We put the stiffener at a certain orientation. We will get the bending modes. We will get the twisting modes. You're getting my point? But mathematically, it's not that much easy. So potential energy now will be the frame, membrane, and stiffeners. So geometrically, if you see,
There will be weight of these PLA material there. These are not that lightweight material. This will be having some weight. So we have to take in care by that gravitational potential energy also.
yes.
Why we
So
are not doing
that's why I'm coming to that. He is right. Your stiffening element that you are putting here, definitely it will going to have some mass of that. You are putting that, and I'm telling you frankly, the mass of the electrode is also there. Whatever you are putting the compliant frame, the mass of the electrode is being there. So usually in the initial setup of this analytical model, we have neglected the mass of the electrode, we have neglected the mass of the stiffener, but in our recent publication we have done, we have considered that effect also. So we keep on evolving. So why we are keep on evolving? Because we have seen that there is some source of discrepancy come. So again we go back, what we are neglected. So again we have neglected the kinetic energy of the membrane. We have already seen that. So some source of discrepancy come from there, very small. Now we are also initially when we are developed, so I will show you. So Divyansh is saying me that, sir, when we are not considering the gravitational potential energy. So this expression, if you see, without considering that even, this is the paper that we are having with the stiffener, and you can see the equations that we are developed. So this is the, like we are considered for generalized model. If you are having the 4 stiffener, this is going to have the different angle, okay. My concern is to show you the complicated equation when we are considering the stiffeners. So we are not able to put in the paper, we have put it all this equation in the appendix. So this is all the angle that we have been there in the schematic. So you can see the equation that we are basically solving. So you can see all this thing. So that general equation in which we are having this parameter, Z1, Z2, Z3, Z4, Z5. So it's very complicated. So if we still keep on adding the effect, we have already done that. There is a recent paper in which we have considered the impact of compliant electrodes. So impact of compliant electrode, we are considering the mass of the electrode also. So you see that how mathematical equation we have to tackle in an effective manner. So initially we have neglected the effect of the stiffener mass that we are considering. So we have considered all this. If you see the frame and the stiffener, bending stiffness we have taken into account. KBS come into picture here, okay. So the second aspect, we are not doing only by analytical modeling. We have carried out the experiment for that, for validating that what we are saying. It's not like that we are saying whatever, we have also obtained it experimentally. So you see, this is the developed dielectric elastomer based minimum energy structure with a stiffener. Why stiffener is important? We have seen, we have to avoid warping, we have to provide stiffening response at the tip, okay, and by changing the spacing between the consecutive stiffener, we can control the attained initial and the final level. So if you see, at different spacing between the consecutive stiffener, as we keep on increasing, experimentally you can see 4 spacing we have considered, 0.25, 0.5, 0.75 and 1. So by changing that spacing between the consecutive stiffener, so you will be curious that what is this red color mark here, I hope. So this red color mark we have put basically to measure the attained angle. So we have developed an image processing technique, okay. So that red, basically green color mark here, it is a piece of the small cardboard that we put at the cross section of the stiffener, okay. So in an image processing technique, we have taken that cross section by considering an input image of this, okay. Then we have basically converted them to a binary image. So we will ultimately get all this cross section view, okay, and we join them with the lines, and with the MATLAB code we measure the attained initial and the actuated angle. So you see how we are keep on evolving. We measure that different spacing will have the different attained equilibrium angle. For measuring the angle, we have developed an image processing technique to find out what is the value of theta. This is all experimental modeling. This is actually our stretching mechanism we will have here, okay. This is the pre-stretch state, EQ by XL. Then these are the component. These are the compliant frame, this is carbon grease, this is the stiffeners. When we put it together, the entire structure will like this. This is the zoom view. Still it is mechanically constrained. When we cut it with the help of a razor blade, then we obtain this type of configuration. You're getting my point? And it is still an initial configuration. In the second case, we have to apply the electrical voltage. When we apply the electrical voltage, I will show you, it will actuate like this, okay. So as a result, we can see experimental result we already have here, and a very complicated mathematical model we are having. So after solving, still some source of discrepancy is being there. I am telling you that when we are carrying out an experiment, we have to carry it out in multiple times. Because what we are doing, we are initially we are putting that carbon grease with the help of a hand. Okay, if I am going to replicate that 2 or 3 times, every time I will get some variation. Okay, but nowadays, to avoid that, I have already discussed with one of you, spray up technique for coating is being done, so that you will have a uniform spraying and it will not ultimately going to affect your final result. Okay, so I have conducted multiple experiments, that's why it is being shown like this, and we are having an analytical result. But if you still see, the trends are matching. So it means that our developed model, if you able to validate with something experimental specifically, it means you are moving in the right direction. So you can see not a very good match at the higher pre-stage level. There is some source of discrepancy will come, because at a higher pre-stage the structure will bend more, and mathematically you have developed, you are increasing the value of lambda pre-stage, but it will not capturing up to that much effect. Why? Neo-Hawkian model we have taken. Already discussed with you today, for higher pre-stage, okay, you have to go for the different model. That's why you see at the lower pre-stage level we are getting some good match. But if you are considering at the higher stage, then you have to go for the different model. Okay. So this finite element modeling I am planning to show you in the upcoming lecture. Still I give a glimpse to that. So for finite element modeling, why we have moved to that? The reason is this dielectric elastomer based minimum energy structure, what we have considered homogeneous deformation. Okay. So as an analytical model, we have considered homogeneous deformation throughout. But in actual practice, this type of structure will undergo inhomogeneous deformation. Okay. Ab inhomogeneous deformation means if tangent modulus is going to change, it's not going to be a constant. So for incorporating that, we have to look towards some numerical tools, and finite element is one of them. This I will give a very quick, just I am going through quick overview of that. In detail, tomorrow we will have experimental, analytical and numerical discussion. So there I will solve the MATLAB code in front of you. Experimental I will bring stuff here to show you. So finite element, what we have done, we are having this strain energy. Okay. So this is the mathematical domain, we are having the equation. This is equilibrium equation. This is the traction boundary condition, and this is the prescribed displacement. I am not going into detail. This is for the electrical part. Already Dr. Prashant Saxena has discussed this. I have paper, my paper I will share. Each and every expression is being derived there and being shown what is the significance of that. Okay. Now you already know that we are having the residual, element level residual, Galerkian method, we can implement that in FEM to solve these equations. Okay. So initially we validate it with a single element. So we have developed user defined element subroutine in Abacus. So we validate for a very single element. So with the analytical model, this is the expression. Okay. When you are having a membrane, okay, this is the stretch of the membrane. You validate for a single element and we obtain a very good match. It is matching with the experimental up to a certain level of the applied electric voltage. Then what is happening at this? Instability come into picture. Whenever the instability come, your code is not working at this fine. Why? Because this parameter that we are considering is not going to converge after that. So, but our finite element for a certain level of applied voltage, it can predict that. So this is the match with the analytical one. So what we have done, we already carried out experiment. Okay. So we have matched that experiment with the finite element, this finite element developed code. And again, you can see discrepancies there. The reason is in the finite element, lot of loopholes are there. We have not considered the viscoelastic effect of the membrane that this dielectric membrane is basically showing. We are considering a very simplistic case. And why we have not considered, I will show you very, very complicated equation. So in our one of the paper that our collaborator, Dr. Atul Kumar Sharma has published, he has considered the viscoelastic effect. Okay. So that is one of the thing. So again, in the future, we are planning to incorporate the viscoelastic effect also, because this dielectric membrane that we are considering, it shows significant viscoelastic effect. Okay. That we have not considered. Now, my thing is, I am saying as an engineer, why I am considering rectangular? I am considering rectangular frame with a rectangular electrode I am posing. So, can we have different shape? Yes. And definitely the shape of the frame and the shape of the active area of the electrode is going to govern the attained initial and the final configuration. So as a case study, we have considered three different shape of the DMS actuator. That shape is circular, circular, triangular, triangular, and in the rectangular one, we can also say that we can have the rectangular electrode, we can have the circular electrode and the triangular electrode. So there are three cases here, and three cases here, and three cases here, and along with that, there are different cases here, where frame and the electrode shape is going to change, and in this particular case, only the electrode shape we can vary. So 9 different cases we have studied with the help of finite element. And what we have observed that when we are considering the different shapes, our attained initial angle when no voltage is there and the attained final angle when the voltage is there is going to vary with the shape. So this is for the different shape we have plotted. So for example, if it's you who are going to design the shape of the frame. You say, so I am not going to take the rectangular frame, I will take a triangle one. And I will tell you this triangle one will give you, if you see the maximum actuation, if you are seeing, it will be with the help of the triangle. There is a specific reason also. In this, if you see the symmetry is being there. So the active region, symmetry will be there. In this, the symmetry will be there. In this case, no symmetry will be there. So I have explained all this specific reason that why this particular triangle one, you can see here, initial shape, bending actuator, they are considering a triangle. Okay. So we have considered different shape, and with the help of this different shape, we can predict which shape is going to give you the maximum attained angle and which one will give you the maximum actuation range. Actuation range is what? The final initial angle is this one, and the final angle applied the voltage, you will get different angle. So the difference between these two is called as actuation range. For example, you are not providing any voltage, you will get an angle. It is initial angle, theta initial. When you apply the voltage, it will try to go back. Then from the horizontal, you will have another angle, theta final. So the difference between theta initial and final is actuation range. Okay, or sometimes it is also called as actuation stroke. So you can see we can basically govern the attained initial angle and the final angle. Along with that, the actuation range by changing the shape of the electrode and the frame. I hope you are getting. So these are the 4 case study. Now the important thing is how, that is the simple case we have developed. We started with a very simple case. So we have touched upon all the aspects. We have started with the analytical one. We have carried out experiment. So we are facing problem in everything. Analytically, we cannot go for the complicated structure. Experimentally, we are facing a problem that it's not always able to replicate the same results. Or we observe that experimentally warping is being there. To avoid that, we have put the stiffness. Okay. Then we have seen that we are only considering homogeneous deformation, but in actual, this DMS actuator undergo inhomogeneous deformation. So what we are doing? We are going to the finite element simulation. So we are getting a problem, but we are trying to find out the solution for that. That is engineering. Okay. So we start with a very simple bending actuator, for which we are having the analytical model, for which we are having the finite element model. Okay, that we have already seen. We have also carried out the experiment. You can see there is a motion. Okay. Now we have extended that work. Now we say that this DMS based actuator that we have developed, we can also take it to the advanced level, and we are trying to replicate the motion of a dragonfly. So this is the actual reality of the dragonfly. Okay. So some idealization we have done for finite element simulation work, and the model that we have developed, finite element here, this one, we have implemented in Abacus to find out the response of this dragonfly for different pre-stage. When we are going to change the pre-stage, its wings will have the different attained shape. Okay. Then we are going to apply the voltage, it's going to have a different motion. And this is the exact experimental we have also carried out. So we will get some good trend match between the experimental and the finite element. For this one, we have not done the analytical model because it's very difficult. Because whenever the complicated shape will come into picture, you can't develop for the experiment. For this simplistic case, we start with the analytical. We extend that to the finite, basically experimental and bending it. So I have some interesting thing to show you. This is for a simplistic, for a particular frequency. when we change the frequency, you can see, or when we keep on increasing the voltage, how our structure will give a response. I will show you. So this is at a very low frequency range, okay? You can see. This is the simple bending actuator that we have developed. Now this one you can see. So excitation frequency, if you can control, and the applied voltage, cyclic voltage that you are applying. So you can basically have the controlling parameter in your hand. For Dragonfly, you can see. Okay, and this one. So it depends upon the voltage that you are supplying, okay, and the frequency that you have input for that. Okay, so this is one of the thing. Now this that finite element, I will show you tomorrow also, so that it can be of use for you. But I am telling you that simplistic case we have started for the bending actuator. We have taken to Dragonfly. That recently we have, during my postdoc, I have worked on the development of some advanced structure. So that we have worked on the development of forearm gripper using the concept of DMS. So what is the advantages here, I will tell you. Usually what people have done, they have developed a simple bending actuator like this, okay. Then they have clubbed them together. Here you can see 3 of them are clubbed together, and they are using for a flapping wing actuator application. Here they have different bending actuator, then they have clubbed together on a frog type of structure to replicate the motion. But whenever you are seeing that at this interface, definitely the problem will be there. Whenever the failure will take place from this interface, the failure will be there, and it is more promptly susceptible to this failure. So I have developed an idea during my postdoc that can we govern the final configuration that he has asked by simply designing or optimizing the shape of the frame. Yes, that is the answer. And how will we get the optimized shape? As I started, from the start I have seen that we will get a motivation from our mother nature. So we have taken that. So there is one slide I can show. So you can ask me a question that instead of taking different frame and then club them together, I say that we can use a simple single frame. It is a compliant. All will have a same, all legs will be merged in a single frame. So we will design and cut a frame in a single geometry. We will have the final output geometry. Instead of having a single, then club them together, assemble them, definitely there is a chance of failure will be there. So the question is, from where we will get this shape? So it is not like I have directly taken. I will have a tomorrow glimpse for that also, but still I can show you right now. Why I have taken this shape, there is a specific reason. This I am trying to show you tomorrow, but for your quick understanding, why I have taken this shape, I will tell you. This is the motivation. You see, so we are having a starfish, and if you look at this structure, so it is having some structure like this. Actual shape we are trying to replicate with this one. So starfish has a very larger flexibility and the large degree of freedom. So we have taken motivation from the mother nature. We have decided the shape. We say that since the shape has working very effectively for the starfish, we can try to develop the same DMS actuator by considering the same shape. Similarly, for the dragonfly that we have considered, initially we will start trying to replicate the wings. We have taken some structure of the wings. So here it is not like the perpendicular one, it is being oriented. So in my simulation part, I have already oriented the stiffener at a certain angle. So you are getting my point? So motivation will be always from the mother nature. Okay. So that's what I am telling you. We have basically taken to the advanced application, we have developed the gripper by using DMS actuator. So we are having the finite element simulation. Parallelly, we are carried out the experiment for that. So this is the flapping wing. Now again, the thing, when we have not put it the stiffener, you see how warping is there. When we put the stiffener, warping is completely elevated, and when we put the stiffener at a certain orientation, along with the bending, we are having the twisting motion. So you can see this is the experimental mechanism. We have a very good match, okay, with the experimental with the finite element, okay. And this is the response. For example, if we are providing a pre-stretch, the structure try to attain a configuration. In the case of a flapping wing we are showing here, and we apply the cyclic loading condition to that, it will keep on flapping. So this is for the response for the different voltage level. As we keep on increasing the voltage, our structure will going to flap. So there is a constant that we have considered up to this voltage. There is a reason I have already told you. For a certain, after certain level of the applied voltage, this instability will come into picture. When you try to solve for that, it will not able to solve. There is a lot of, again, a problem is there, solution is there. Okay. So there is a reason why that this code is not working. There is because it will not converge. So still people have developed lot of techniques that for a higher level of the voltage, this finite element simulation can still work. I hope you are getting this point. So this is done for today. I hope you all like the content and the material. So we have started with the analytical model, the basic one. Now you understand the third question, how? I think you understand how analytical modeling we have done. Experimentally how we are going, all this aspect I will show you tomorrow, how we have done that. I will tell you the overview that I have given, the analytical model in this way we can do, experimentally in this way we can carry it out, finite element we have cut. Tomorrow we will have the session on experimental, numerical and analytical modeling. So I will show you how to solve this with the help of MATLAB OD45 solver. If you like, you can bring your laptop with the MATLAB, or I will here show you. I will give my code also at the end of the CAN course. Okay. Experimentally, we will bring some stuff to show you here, and finite element, how we have done, I can show you. Any question now? Divyansh, any question? Anyone? या तो सब समझ में आया या कुछ भी नहीं समझ में आया. दो रीजन में क्वेश्चन नहीं होते. प्लीज. हाँ. In this case, basically, we have given the frequency up to 5 hertz. So we are not going above that because I have told you there is a certain restriction on the applied voltage, on the applied frequency that you are giving. But again, it's up to us. We can tune them. If we are incorporating anisotropy, if we are providing stiffeners, so that basically going to be changed. So that we can basically work upon them. And one more good thing I missed to tell you, this Dragonfly have a particular application also. So we are planning like to have some small camera, micro camera over that. Okay. So it will be used for some spy application. Uri movie में you have already seen that there is a Garud, but वो दिख जाता उनको, पकड़ भी लिया था बच्चे ने. Well, movie है, it's like that. But if you will have this type of structure, very micro level, if you see put some small camera, it's a very small structure. So you put some small micro camera. In the future, we can develop some ability. It can take a very small payload. It can go and just initiate something, explosive. Some explosive is there, putting there, for example. You just, this will go and just give an initial spark to that. Small payload it will carry and drop there. Entire thing will be, so it will be of like very much useful for the defense application, spy application. Okay.
It will be leading the
Electric voltage. So, no, that's I'm telling you. It's not like that we are supplying you the electric voltage. So we will have initially a small amount of actuation for actuation ability, a small electrical control we have to provide, merge them with it. Already at IIT Roorkee we have a small actuation capability. Instead of taking that high voltage fire with us, it's not required. So it will have supply for that. It will just go with the help of, it will drop and it will, or if even don't come back, that's the point. So the application we have to, we already, and this bending actuator, the advantage in space application, in depth, basically strength ratio is the major. Weight is very, very important in this application. Okay. That's why people are looking to active material because have large advantage in compared to traditional material along with the actuation also. You're getting my point? Okay, thank you so much. Yeah.
If we reduce the input voltage, can be increased?
Can be. The thing is, during my start presentation, I've said that there is a limitation that it requires high voltage for them to get. So we need to find optimized pattern. This much frequency required and control or provide this much electric voltage, so will effectively act at least. Getting my point? So that is why the optimization technique come into picture. That if you see, I have taken the three different shape of the electrode and the frame. Finally, we have to carry out an optimization technique to use that. Which one is the optimized shape at which we can supply the limited amount of voltage to get the maximum actuation out of it. You getting my point? Okay. Thank you. Any question if you have, you can ask. Online है क्या?
Thank you so much, sir. No question.
Thank you. Online, if you have any question, you can ask.